And now we have Hasiyatu Abubakari and Samuel Alhassan Issah. And the title is Metaphorical Personal Names in Mabia Languages in Ghana. And we have Dr. Hasiyatu. Are you starting?
No, go ahead. I'm just queuing it up.
Okay, thank you. Is a research fellow at the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana. And her research focuses on minority languages and culture of northern Ghana. Her interest covers both descriptive and theoretical linguistics in areas including syntax, semantics, pragmatics, information structure, onomastics, social linguistics, folklore, among others. And then Dr. Issah is a senior lecturer in linguistics and indigenous languages at the University of Education, Winneba, Ghana. His research focuses on the syntax and literature of Dagbani and related languages. He focuses on information structure, the syntax of anaphoric elements, the expression of negation, among others.
Hello, everybody. This is Hasiyatu Abubakari from the University of Ghana, co-presenting with Samuel Alhassan Issah of the University of Education, Winneba, on the talk titled Metaphor of Personal Names in the Mabia Languages of Ghana. In this presentation, we outline our talk as follows. So we will begin by giving the major highlights of this presentation or talk, and this will be followed with a brief account of the language and its speakers as the main source of our data to give us a fair idea of the people who speak the various languages where we get our data. And we will look at a very brief literature review on personal names in the Mabia languages. This will be followed by a very brief account of the theoretical framework that is adapted for this study. And this will then take us to the main or substantive issue of metaphorical personal names in the selected languages. And then we would have a very brief concluding remarks for the entire talk. So beginning with the major highlights of the presentation, we realize that the conceptualization of personal names in the Mabia languages are drawn from a wide range of their cultural and customary practices of the people, or the cultural and customary practices of the people. This means that the varied cultural and customary practices inform the selection of a particular metaphoric personal name for a newborn child. So any name can be traced from the culture, belief system, and customary practice of the people. Additionally, whereas personal names are considered symbolic of the name bearer, the bearer is considered as a container that represents and concretizes the personal name as an identifiable entity in the world. So the experiences, the belief system of the people are then concretized in the object or the person who carries the name. So the name bearer becomes a symbolic representation of the abstract notion of belief systems, cultural practices, among other things. It would then be realized that the cross-domain mapping of metaphorical personal names identify the name bearer as the source domain, while the more abstract notions of experience, belief system, worldviews, etc. function then as the target domains. Now let's quickly look at the sample languages and their speakers. So our data is coming from 4 Mabia languages, Dagbani, Kusaal, Likpapkaln, and Sisali. And it is aimed at, or the study is aimed at establishing that names in these languages have metaphorical underpinnings. The people who speak Dagbani call themselves the Dagbamba. Those who speak Kusaal refer to themselves as the Kusaas, while those who speak Likpapkaln refer to themselves as the Kukumba, and then those who speak Sisali refer to themselves as Sisala. All these languages are spoken in the northern parts of Ghana. The languages were originally referred to as the Guru languages. Bodomo 2020, however, advocates the use of the term Mabia, with the argument that Mabia is more representative of the people who speak the languages than the term Guru, which is taken from, or which is a morphem from only 3 or 4 of these languages. The 4 Mabia languages that are chosen actually represent, when you look at the figure here, it is the figure of the classification of the Mabia languages according to Godomo. And the languages that are selected are from all parts or all categories of these languages, where we have Sisali spoken in Mabia West, Kukumba from Mabia East, and then under Mabia Central, we have Dagbani and Kusaal. What this means is that the observation would sort of have bearing on almost all the languages that are spoken among the Mabia language speakers. Now let's look at previous studies on personal names in these languages. Work on personal names began with Daku 2000, who looks at personal names in Dagbani. And she classified these names into traditional or Islamic names and argues that this classification is an indigenous classification that reflects the linguistics, social, and historical distinctions of personal names among speakers of the language. Garba 2009 is also the pioneering work on Sisali personal names, and he typologizes these names into 7 groups: spiritual names, philosophical names, experiential names, among others. His work also gives the semantic and etymological account of personal names in Sisali. Abubakari also serves as a pioneering work on names in Kusaal, and she looks at the social linguistics and semantics of these names. In this study, she observes the significant sociocultural as well as religious beliefs of the people that are exhibited through their personal names, and she identifies 11 categories of names. Abubakari et al., on the other hand, provide a very comprehensive account of the sociocultural significance and typology of personal names in 4 Mabia languages. So they also source their data from Dagbani, Kusaal, Likpapkaln, and Sisali. They identify 13 categories of names in the Mabia languages. There is, however, very little work on metaphors of personal names in these languages. Musa and Atibiri explore the metaphor of death in Kusaal using the conceptual metaphor theory of Lakoff and Johnson. And according to them, the cross-domain mapping inherent in these metaphors include ascribing the concrete attributes of the source domain, while the more abstract target domain is death, which is a less tangible feature. In this study, the following form the conceptualization that they observe about death. They explain that death is animate, death is a journey, death is a departure, among other things. So this is the conceptualization that the people have of death. Another study on metaphor is Bisilki and Nyaku, who investigate anger metaphors in Likpapkaln using the conceptual metaphor theory. And they explain that anger is conceptualized in terms of linul, which is the heart. They also identify 5 clauses in which anger expressions occur in the language and claim that some conceptualization of anger found in Likpapkaln include anger is human, anger is heat, an angry person is a pressured container, and the body is a container for anger. This work fills the gap by looking at the metaphors in personal names in 4 languages. So we also aim to see how the people conceptualize personal names in terms of source and target domains. The theoretical framework we adapt for this study is the conceptual metaphor theory. And this is based on the notion that the strong motivation for the use of metaphoric expressions falls on the fact that they capture concepts and opinions that ordinarily may not be easily expressed. Notions of experience, belief systems, worldview, among other things, are the target domain, which we will see being sort of mapped on to the source domains, which then become the concrete entity. In this study, personal names are considered as symbolic of the name bearer, and as such, the bearer is assumed to be the container that represents and concretizes the personal name as an identifiable entity in the world. So my experiences, my belief systems, etc., are expressed in an individual's name, and that individual then becomes the entity that expresses this abstract domain in the world. The cross-domain mapping of metaphorical personal names therefore identify the name bearer as the source domain, whilst the more abstract domain of belief system, etc., become the target domain. Again, according to, so now let's look at metaphorical personal names in the selected languages. Following Lakoff and Johnson, metaphors involve understanding and experiencing one kind of thing in terms of another. They further explain that every experience takes place within a vast background of cultural presupposition. They signify the ontological conceptualization of the human body as a container which houses the concrete entity referred to as a personal name. These names are therefore container metaphors that carry, store, share, and convey stories of the daily activities, experiences, and the cultural practices of the people. So the names are containers that are represented in the form of the human being, and these containers sort of share stories and convey the cultural beliefs, etc., of the people. These are often aimed at concretizing abstract notions to achieve several purposes, among which the key ones are: one, to showcase the religious beliefs of the people. So the names showcase the religious belief of the people. The names iconicize and make memorable experiences of the people. The names also help others understand something that could not easily be expressed directly or even literally. So let's now turn to discuss the various metaphorical names observed in the selected languages. We would observe that experiences are personal names among speakers of these languages. So it is a common practice for a newborn to be named after a personal experience of the name giver, usually the parent of the infant. The daily experiences of speakers of these languages give rise to the use of this category of metaphorical names. Metaphorical personal names in this category include those that are both figurative and non-figurative. So both innuendos, proverbial names often express the daily experiences of speakers of these languages. So names that express experiences, names that are aspersions or cast aspersions, names that are proverbs often come out as a result of experiences of the speakers or the name giver. So in this example, for instance, or in the table 1, we have names such as "it is possible" in Dagbani, that is Danani. And in Kusaal, you have a name like Amorbo. What do you have? In Likpapkaln, you have a name that translates like "I don't hate my friend." In Sisali, you have a name that translates into "don't maltreat me." So these are born out of experiences. And then the people would then use it or use their experiences as names. Names that also have some form of aspersions include Adiebo, what have you gained? That is a name in Kusaal. And in Dagbani, you can have a name that translates as they have left us. And in Likpapkaln, you have a name that is I am in their midst. So all these cast aspersions as other people, and yet they are used as personal names. So these abstract options or abstract entities or ideas or notions are then represented in concrete entities in the form of the name bearer, who then serves as a story or a container that sort of carries this meaning across. And proverbs also serve as personal names, and this also is part of the experience as personal names. So we have a name like God has exposed them. Human being is not God. Kindness does not end. These are all proverbs, and then they are used as personal names. And this will be informed by the experiences of the name bearer or someone very close to. Experiences of the name giver, or someone who is very close to the name giver. We also observe belief systems are personal names. So the people also name their children based on the belief systems. So names under this category are born out of one's faith in an object of worship. Sociocultural, theophoric personal names reveal that speakers of these languages believe in deities and worship the supreme God. These names show some of the attributes of the supreme God as well as deities, depending on the type of faith that is practiced by the name giver. From this category of names, we contend that names of God and his attributes, as well as names of deities, are all used as personal names in the selected languages. The reason for giving a particular theophoric name is also based on circumstances that are best known by the name giver. So under this category, we would have belief systems, personal names. We also have properties of deities or the supreme being also used as personal names. So belief systems such as God is God's gift, someone is named God's gift. Someone, this Abubakari is a deity, or is the word for deity. This is also used as name. You have a name like Augustine, looking to God. So someone, your belief system, what you believe in becomes a name. So you have shrine. So Nala or Hanala, this is a shrine. It is also given as a name. You cover here, Sisali, you have Javuno, which is deity, is also given as a personal name. So the people express their belief system through personal names. So personal names also, so belief systems are personal names. Attributes of God are also personal names. So you would have examples such as God alone is enough, God preserves and protects, God defends or fights, God is good. These are attributes, and then they are also used as personal names, and they express what the people believe in. Another category we observed of metaphor in names is death weapons are personal names. So this normally comes from death prevention names. These people have names that they give to children who or parents who suffer continuous neonatal death. So when you give it and your child dies, they have a category of name they call death prevention names that they give to these children. And this category falls there. So names in this category fall under the death preventive names in the typology of personal names in the selected languages. These names mostly have at least one morpheme, that means death, or form part of the register of death. Speakers of these languages believe in the potency of these names as death weapons that are able to combat the spirit of death and save the infant name bearer from dying. This category of metaphorical name is picturesque. It iconicizes death and death-related beliefs and notions among speakers of these languages in the name bearer. It conveys a message that the name bearer is saved from death by the name they bear. So anybody who bears this type of name is immediately identified as someone whose parents sort of suffered continuous neonatal deaths. And this name, therefore, saved the name bearer from death. And we then categorize this as death weapon personal names. So a name like someone may be named a stranger or a traveler, that is Sunday. Another Akubang, that is will not know. Death has insulted me. Wicked person, or death is wicked. I bought death. Do not go again. All these are death prevention names, and they also serve as personal names. Nouns that are also related to death also fall under this category of death weapon are personal names. So you have death does not live out. Atid is the name, the word for death. And so you also have that as name. I am deaf. This is also someone's name. But all these are meant to sort of save the child from death. So characteristics of death are also names, and these fall under the category death weapon are personal names. So death has hit me, will death spare me, among others. We also have war against death. So these are names that are not palatable, that are often given to children whose parents also suffer these neonatal deaths, and they are all meant to sort of save the child from death. So names like they do not want, unknown, I don't know, I will not name you. All these are supposed to scare death away from taking the name bearer. Another category we observe are flora and fauna names and personal names. So there is a synchronic relationship between names in this category and the category labeled belief systems are personal names. Thus, both categories show that speakers of these languages name newborns to their objects and entities of reverence. However, whereas belief systems as personal names use objects that are not fauna and flora, fauna and flora names refer to or mostly come from names of plants and animals, whilst belief system names always come from names of deities, shrines, etc. So under this category, the people believe before the advent of Christianity and Islam, the people believe in deities that may be in the form of streams, trees, stones, etc. And people are named after these deities. So you have Atig, which is Tig, is tree. And then you'll be named after a tree. Someone may be named after fish. Mouse may be sort of a totemic animal. You may also be named after that, among other things. So these are names of flora and fauna that serve as personal names. Totemic animals also serve as personal names. So among the Kusaal, you have the cow, the snake, and the horse. All these are totemic animals of various clans. They also serve as personal names. So in short, we also have flora and fauna names are personal names. Another category of name are deities. So deities are also personal names. So another metaphoric use of personal names by speakers of these languages is the use of shrine names and divine or initiated names, such that the name of a deity is given to a newborn as a personal name. The analogy is complex, such that several connotations could be associated with this practice. These connotations, more importantly, cannot be directly elicited from the literal meaning of these metaphorical personal names. Thus, using names of deities as personal names does not connote that the bearers are or represent the object of divination. However, it could be suggested that the bearer's spirit is linked to the shrine or deity. So a woman who does not conceive, for instance, could consult a deity for a child. And after that, the child would have to be named after the deity or initiated to serve the deity. So that is where some of these names also come from. So we have shrine names, that is Wumbe, for instance, is the name of a shrine. Asatan is the name of a shrine. Kundi is also a name of a shrine. These are all given as personal names for specific reasons. Another group of names we also observe, which is the final one, is professions or professional tools as personal names. These are mainly metonyms, where the names of tools are used to refer to their respective professions. So the names of professional tools, when given to newborn babies, simply imply that these babies are initiated into the supposed profession, where the specific tool is the main operational tool or instrument. These names are, however, not given randomly. They can only be given after a soothsayer or a diviner has confirmed that the child came to the world to practice the said profession. So you have names like Za'an, which is the blacksmith hammer, could be given to a child after a soothsayer has said that this child is supposed to be a blacksmith. And then among the Sisali, you also have the same thing. In short, we say that the study has shown the overwhelming use of metaphors in personal names of speakers of these languages, which is an indication that metaphor forms an integral part of the daily experiences and interactions of these people. Personal names metaphorically recount histories of wealth of experiences in several domains of life by the speakers of these languages. The conceptualization of personal names among speakers of these languages draw from a wide range of their cultural and customary practices, which inform the selection of a particular metaphoric personal name for a newborn child. The 5 conceptualizations of personal names found in the languages under study are: deities are personal names, flora and fauna names are personal names, death weapons are personal names, belief systems are personal names, and experiences are personal names. Thank you very much for your audience, and we anticipate your comments, questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this very dense and intriguing presentation. That's a window on so many sides of naming. I was, while you were talking, I was connecting your what you were saying to what Jane was saying. And in fact, her focus was on mispronunciation, that's on the phonetic side, and yours is on the semantic side. So this makes, makes these names very different, particularly different in different cultures. I mean, it's not just a matter of mispronunciation, but of not getting the meaning of a name. So this may, I was wondering, what do you think in terms of how names are perceived? There is an entire word around them. So
yeah, it's indeed very intriguing. So it's more of, as soon as you hear someone's name, if only you belong to the culture, it directly informs you what happened before the person got that name, or perhaps the experiences of the name givers, what the parents might have gone through. So if I have a name that is the name of a deity, immediately someone hears it, the person knows how.
And that gets absolutely lost.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting.
And are there any reasons why behind the choice of this name, since they are meaningful name, reasons behind the choice of one name rather than another? I mean, is there a connection between the meaning of the name and the reason why the parents chose that name?
Yes. And in this culture, you can't, let's say, if you were not, if your mother was not assisted by a diviner to conceive you, you can't be given that name. So you can't give maybe a name that expresses an experience when perhaps you've not gone through that. So the various circumstances that surround the birth of a child also determines the name that the child will get. So yeah.
We have more questions here. In Southeast Nigeria, different family members give different names, so the child has many names. Is that also true in that part of Ghana?
Not necessarily. I think in the South, that is very common. In the North, it is also there, but it is not compulsory that that is done.
Yeah.
Dr. Issah, Professor, you want to, okay.
I think sometimes it's possible for a child to have a proverbial name and also a reincarnation name, right? Because, for instance, among the Dagbamba, we believe that a child that is born can be a reincarnated ancestor who once passed on. So they can give that name to the child, and then they can also give a situational name to that particular child. But this is usually something that is not very common, because we usually want that every child has one indigenous name. So the practice is possible, but it's not something that is very prevalent.
Okay, I have a question about the religious names. Their names are related to the traditional system of belief. We have that in the Bible tradition in the Ivory Coast. But what is going on at this time is that as Christianity or Islam take over, these religious names related to the traditional system of belief are disappearing. Is that the situation there?
Yeah, very interesting question. So what is happening now again is that people are using their belief, let's say Christian names, for instance, or sort of some belief in Christianity to rather name their children. So if someone can name the child maybe Augustine, for instance, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person believes in a traditional system. It could be that the person is a Christian or the person is a Muslim. But the fact that the person says, okay, I look up to God, and that is the name of the child. So it expresses the religious belief of the person, but not necessarily tied to the traditional belief system. But when you give names of deities and others, then you directly get to know that, okay, this name belongs to this category, or this person is coming from this background. So that is a common trend that is there. So the deities, specifically talk about the traditional religion, whilst the religious name may mean other things. And what is again happening more is that, especially people who are Muslims, they hardly give the traditional name to their children. So you would have a Muslim having 2 Islamic names instead of perhaps having 1 traditional name added to their name. So it is that is a trend. I'm not sure if I've answered your question.
The question is there evidence of individuals choosing to use a different name as they get older, especially if given a name at birth which is a negative one? For example, names based on aspersion.
Very good question too. Yeah, so let's say people who convert to other religions automatically may change their names. Christians may go through baptism and change their names. But the traditional names are given after some rituals are done. So for you to say you want to change your name means you have to go through certain rituals as well. I remember I asked this very question during field work, and the answer I got was, okay, it's a very difficult one. So I can't immediately say, yes, the person can change the name, or no, the person can, but I would more be inclined to say that it is.
So is it rare?
Yes, it's
rare.
Yeah.
Okay. We have one more question. What might motivate parents to give the child a death protection name? Perhaps that the parent has a particular concern for the health of the child, or the situation in which the child is born is one of a peril, or perhaps the parent has recently experienced a loss.
Yeah, so the death prevention names, as I said, is given to children whose parents suffer constant neonatal death. So you give birth and then the child dies. You give birth and then the child dies. So the child is believed to be a spirit child, or there is something associated, or some spiritual thing that causes the death of your children. So the death prevention names are believed to be names that when you give to the child, because they are not, let me say, palatable names, death doesn't also want what people don't like. So by giving the child that name, it means death will also not want that child. And so that child sort of survives. It's a belief that is very strong, and it is not just among this group of people. I think quite across Africa, a lot of other people also do the same.
Thank you.